You've seen these ships before, maybe in a photo, maybe passing under a bridge. A steel wall of containers stacked 12 high, stretching almost 4 football fields long, sliding through the water so slowly it doesn't even look like it's moving. 1,300 feet of steel, 200,000 tons when it's fully loaded. A machine so massive it can carry 20,000 shipping containers across the entire planet at once. And somewhere near the very top of that ship, behind a door that most of the crew will never once open, there's a room barely bigger than a closet. The captain's private bathroom. Now here's the thing that most people never even stop to think about. On a ship this size, there are only around 20 people on board. 20. To run a vessel longer than the Empire State Building is tall, and almost every one of them shares. Shared showers, shared toilets, shared everything, but not the captain. He gets his own, and the reason why isn't about luxury, and it isn't about ego. It's about something far more practical, and honestly, far stranger than you'd expect. There are 3 layers to this story. The first explains why that private bathroom exists at all. The second reveals the hidden technology that makes it even possible to flush a toilet in the middle of the ocean. And the third is something almost nobody ever considers. By the end of this video, you'll never look at one of these giant ships the same way again. So let's start with the obvious question. Why does one man out of 20 get his own bathroom? Most people assume it's a perk, a reward for climbing the ranks, and sure, part of it is status. But the real reason is about the job itself. A container ship captain is on call 24 hours a day for the entire length of a voyage, and those voyages can run 30, 40, sometimes more than 50 days without touching land. He can be woken at 3 a.m. because a storm shifted, or a container came loose, or a port authority halfway across the world needs an answer right now. His cabin isn't just where he sleeps, it's his office, his command post, and the one place on the ship where he's allowed to be off-duty and unreachable at the same time. That's why the captain's quarters are the largest private space on the entire vessel. Not a single room, but a suite. A day room with a desk and a couch for meetings, a separate bedroom, and attached to it, that private bathroom. The logic is simple. If the most important decision maker on a $200 million ship has to walk down a shared corridor and wait in line for a shower, you've got a problem. His quarters are built so he never has to leave them to function. Everything he needs is within a few steps. But here's where it gets interesting, because having a private bathroom on land is nothing. You turn a tap, water comes out, you flush, it disappears. On a ship 1,000 miles from the nearest coastline, none of that is simple. In fact, almost none of it works the way you think it does. And that starts with a problem most people never even consider. Where does the water come from? Think about it. This ship is surrounded by water in every direction as far as the horizon goes, and not a single drop of it is safe to drink or even to shower in. Seawater is so full of salt that it would corrode the plumbing, wreck the boilers, and dry your skin into sandpaper. So the ocean, the one thing there's infinitely more of than anything else out there, is completely useless, which means the ship has to make its own fresh water from scratch every single day. Inside the engine room sits a device most passengers on a cruise never hear about, and most people ashore have no idea exists. It's called a freshwater generator, or on modern ships, a reverse osmosis plant. And what it does borders on magic. It takes raw seawater and forces it under enormous pressure through a membrane so fine that the salt molecules physically cannot pass through. What comes out the other side is pure fresh water. A single one of these systems can produce tens of tons of drinkable water a day, entirely from the ocean the ship is floating on. So when the captain turns on his shower, that water didn't come from a tank loaded at port. In most cases, it was seawater a few hours ago. The ship drank the ocean, stripped the salt out of it, and piped it up 30 meters to his bathroom. Every shower he takes is water the ship manufactured while moving. But making the water is only half the problem, because now you've got the opposite question, and it's one nobody likes to ask. When the captain flushes that toilet, where does it go? You can't just dump it overboard. Not anymore. Under an international law called MARPOL, ships are strictly banned from discharging raw sewage into the sea near any coastline. Do it within 12 nautical miles of land, and the fines are massive. The ship can be detained, and the captain personally can lose his license. So the obvious solution, the one that ships used for centuries, is now illegal across most of the planet, which means the waste has to be dealt with on board. And this is where a second hidden machine comes in. Most people picture a ship's toilet flushing like the one in their house, with a big tank of water. It doesn't. Modern ships use vacuum toilets, the same technology you've sat on in an airplane, that violent whoosh that sounds like the plane is trying to inhale the entire bowl. And there's a reason for that. Fresh water is precious out here. The ship worked hard to make every drop. A regular home toilet uses several liters per flush. A vacuum toilet uses less than one because it's using suction, not water, to do the work. Multiply that across an entire crew for 50 days, and vacuum toilets can save tens of thousands of liters of fresh water on a single voyage. Everything those toilets collect gets pulled to a sewage treatment plant deep in the ship. It's a compact biological system, not that different in principle from a small-scale version of the plant that treats an entire town's waste. Bacteria break the sewage down. The water gets separated and disinfected, and only once it's treated and the ship is far enough out to sea is anything released. The captain's private bathroom, the crew's showers, the galley sink, all of it flows into the same hidden system working around the clock in the bowels of the ship. But even with all that engineering, there's still one thing the technology can't fix. And this is the part almost nobody expects. The ship never stops moving. Even in calm weather, a vessel this long is constantly flexing and rolling on the swell. In rough seas, that private bathroom can be tilting 15 to 20 degrees to each side. Now picture trying to shower in that. Picture a mirror, a shelf, a cup, anything loose, when the whole room pitches without warning. This is why everything in a ship's bathroom is bolted down, recessed, or held in place with a lip around every edge. The shelves have rails. The doors latch hard so they don't swing and slam with the roll. Even the shower is designed so the water drains no matter which way the floor happens to be tilting at that second. And there's a psychological layer here that hits harder than any of the engineering. Out on a 50-day crossing, that tiny private bathroom is the only truly private space the captain has. Think about that. He commands the entire ship. He's responsible for every soul on board and every container of cargo. And the one place on 1,300 feet of steel where he can close a door and be completely alone is a room the size of a closet. On a vessel, that huge, real privacy is the rarest thing there is. And it belongs to exactly one person. So the next time you see one of these giants sliding into port, a mountain of containers stacked to the sky, remember what's hidden inside. A machine drinking the ocean and turning it into drinking water. A second machine treating everything the crew leaves behind so the sea stays clean. And near the top of it all, one small private bathroom that took a staggering amount of engineering just to let one man take a quiet shower in the middle of nowhere. Now I want to hear from you. If you've worked at sea, what surprised you most about life on board? And if you're watching this from dry land, would you last 50 days on a ship this size? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If you learned something today, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you on the next one.